I need to first throw in the starter as well.
I met Joseph. At first, I thought he's the footballer, Joseph, who played at Villa. So, but then he tells me, no, I'm a different one, the football club by then. He gave us our first advert.
Wow.
Yes, Victoria University Football Club.
Big shout out to Victoria University.
Everybody at Kawowo traveled, including the chef. Because, most teams travel with their chefs. Kawowo did.
Kiyonga, Mozambique, are they better than us? Or why would they be?
Of course they are better.
Why?
They beat us.
Okay, put some context to why they are better than us. Mozambique FC mpira.
Yeah, surely. What's Singapore? They are better than us. When you look at player for player, and you look at where they are playing at, you look at their captain, Mamdava. I don't know if I got the name right. He is in ATM.
ATM is Atletico
Madrid. And our captain, Khalid Daucho, is just close.
He's a big boy at Yanga.
A bus takes you to where he
big
plays
boy
in Yanga. So,
a big boy at
surely,
Yanga.
but when you're going the other side, you need to use air. We have here a regular traveler who can maybe give us an experience. But I can tell you that for that, I think they are better.
I think when
Koja, do you agree?
I think when it comes to issues traveling to Tanzania, I'm the best to offer anything because I don't think the regular travel has been to Tanzania.
Is the Mozambican captain a regular starter at ATM?
Yes, he's their left back, Leonardo Mandava. He plays at left back, back in Atletico Madrid. But just because his size, he couldn't be a center back in Atletico Madrid. Where in Europe, the size of the forwards, the size of some positions. For instance, striking, you have to be big. Then, save for a few people like Sergio Aguero, then this Argentine, Julian Alvarez. But most of the center forwards are always big. Then when it gets to center backs too, they are always big. When it gets to the goalkeepers, they are always big. Sometimes even the central midfielders, the CDMs, they are always big. So because he's small, he plays at left back in Atletico Madrid and he's a starter. Then he comes to Mozambique because he's playing against Uganda. He plays center back perfectly well. So that just shows you the class. It reminds me of David Obua. Obua, while at Hearts and Kaizer Chiefs, played as a left back.
Yeah, true.
Because for them, his quality going forward was maybe lacking. But then when he came to Uganda, he was always the man that tries to lead our attack. Of course, not as a center forward, but one of the forwards that always led the attack. And he could score goals. So
some famous goals. One of them I watched in Nambo.
So back to your question, is Mozambique better than us? Yes. When you look at the playing staff, they have players from playing in Portugal, and not just playing in Portugal, but in Sporting Lisbon. I know a lot of our fans there always watch the Champions League. They've been seeing the Sporting Lisbon guys play. Man United fan, Ruben Amorim. One of the boys that was putting on, I think, shirt 20. The one that left Aucho Khalid for dead. David Rumas liked that move. So
and forced Dennis Omedi for a red card.
I'm going to hold you guys on your horses because you're Montwala speed, but I need to first throw in the starter as well. On a special edition of the Weekly Woes, we are going to have this time one of the legends of Kawowo Sports, a man you've been hearing about him, but now he's here today with us. Koja Ismael Kiyonga is with us today. Ismael is one of is part of the founding team of Kawowo Sports, and we'll get to his story later. And also have the usual suspect, Kyle Edwin Kule. But I'll start with Koja Ismael. Last week we had Sharifa Namagobarama, and her story to Kawowo Sports connects with you. I don't know, I'm sure you watched that episode of the Weekly Woes, and she mentioned that if it wasn't for you, she would never have been here. We had David Isabida. We've had David Isabida here before. He also talked about where things started from, comparing now and then, and we've just been speaking about it before we got on air, how we've become an influence in the business. When we talk, people listen.
One of the best in Africa.
Exactly. Let's start with you. How do you get to Kawowo Sports?
An interesting journey, and for people that are here, that were not with us when we started, you're very lucky, because you're talking about flying, you're talking about flying planes, you're talking about visas, exits, air tickets. That was not how it all started. I remember Joseph Owino texting me via Facebook. He was like, he explained the idea.
He was selling to you the dream.
Yeah, he was a technician. And from what he was seeing, following me do a lot of posts about local football, he got interested. He said, he brought the idea. Of course, he had it, but then he's selling it to me. Then he's like, he's taking Nico. I can provide the content bit. I remember by that time, there was also John Philip Cole, very established, legendary for people that have always followed
Corey is
golf.
now so into golf these days.
Yeah. So I met Joseph. At first I thought he's the footballer, Joseph Owino, played at Villa. So, but then he tells me, no, I'm a different Owino. We met at
Were you disappointed?
Not really. We met at Prota 18 Bukoto, and he shared the idea, and I liked it, because growing up, I grew up from a footballing family. My grand is Alich Tonsa. For people out there that support Express, you know he's the greatest striker ever to play for Express. He's one of the greatest center forwards Uganda has ever had. The first professional player.
Unfortunately, you haven't followed in those footsteps, but continue.
Yeah, but I'm doing a professional job that I think wherever he is, he must be loving. We buried him in Butambara, I think that was 2013. So I came on board. We did not have laptops. We did not have computer. Of course, the office was there, but it was concentrating more about the IT of building websites and things like that. So once in a while, I would pop in with a story, and it would be published. Once in a while, like David Isabida said here, going to events became an issue. You go to event, you say, I'm from Kawowo, and people are like, what's Kawowo? And by that time, there was a sports show called Akawo Kevye Mizanyo on top. That was being done by, I think, Alan Sewanyana.
Now the Honorable. Yeah,
the Honorable MP Match in the West. My MP by the my area MP. So people are like, Kariaka Sewanyana. No, this is something different. And remember, they think of the internet. You know, when you find kids of today, just rejoicing about TikTok, doing everything. They don't know that a few years ago, we didn't have Instagram. We didn't have WhatsApp. That's why sometimes I laugh at Arsenal fans. Most of them have never tweeted, we are champions. Most of them have ever written on Facebook that we're champions. You know? So, but that's a slight joke. So, we started like that. Slowly by slowly, then Isabida came on board, and like they say, the rest is history. First things first, Joseph had a vision. Because when we sat down, he was like, we sit here and find everything history about, say, the English Premier League. Say the German Bundesliga, the UEFA Champions League, right from the 50s, from the 80s, even from the 1800s. But then when we talk about a player like Hassan Mbiru, who recently retired, as recent as 2007, I remember his last game was against Nigeria in the Africa Cup of Nations qualifiers for 2008. But people don't know much about Hassan Mbiru apart from us who watched him. People don't know much about Andrew Mukasa apart from a few of us who watched him. But then we are also lucky that we did watch those people. But we missed out on Philip Omondi, one of the greatest in the world, according to what the legends say. We missed out on Sunday Mokiri, superstar, Katerega superstar. A lot of people. If it was not for the fact that the 1972 Olympic Games, was it in Munich, where Akibowa did win? The only video you see, we would miss a lot. So he said we can document these things. We can have these things written so that even if somebody is not here right now, there will be a time he will Google and find something about Ugandan sport. So I like the idea. My great-grand, like I said, Ali Chitonsa, scored, according to him, he scored 55 goals when the Uganda Premier League was starting, the inaugural season. But that was Kampala District Football League. And the times I used to speak to him, he would say, Andrew Fimbo Mukasa is not the record holder for the most goals in a particular season. I heard that, but it was not documented anywhere. So Joseph was like, we can document this. Right now, we're going to play, we're playing Guinea, we're playing Mozambique, we're playing these teams. But you can Google and find out when we last played Guinea, and you can only get that from Kawowo Sports. By that time, not even the big boys, I won't mention the name, were on the internet.
Don't give them mileage.
Yeah. They were just papers. People would just travel, bring papers, say, carry them from Kamwocha to Mbarara to Masaka to everywhere. But with Kawowo Sports, you don't need to move. All you need to have is data. So I like the idea. That's how we started. And one of the people that was very, very appreciative of our work was Simo Dubaik, the proprietor of Victoria University, the football club by then. He gave us our first advert.
Wow.
Yes, Victoria University Football
Yeah,
Club.
big shout out to Victoria University.
Yeah. Actually, the current people at Victoria University, I don't know why you're not on board.
Yeah, Mike, please tag them.
Yeah.
Cut this out
The
and tag
Victoria
them.
University people, we are the first people that gave you mileage. Of course, the two of us were young brands, but then through Small Dubai, he came on board. He was very, very, very happy with the work we are doing. And one of the reasons was he was European. He knew what it means to have these things documented.
Yeah.
So people at Victoria University, is Chancellor Muganga still there?
I think so.
Yeah. So these people should come on board. Sincerely, you should return. We started this journey together. Of course, others joined. David talked about the first journey outside Uganda. That was in 2013. That was the Sekafa Senior Challenge Cup. And that was a time when Sekafa Senior Challenge Cup was very, very big. We went to Nairobi and then traveled to Mombasa. So we were with these guys and they were like, Kawowo. And remember in Kenya, Kawowo was big, by the way. It was smaller in Uganda, but in Kenya, Tanzania, it was big. They say the prophet is not always accepted where he is born, but away from home. So whenever we moved outside, we were so big. We went to Mombasa. I remember Uganda was eliminated by Tanzania, but we stayed there up to the finals, and everybody was like, you guys, where are you getting the money? But it was all about passion. And I must say, Joseph Owino always acted like a Mzungu. You see, these Mazungus are the ones that we always say, hey, you're Mutegeke, this thing like that. Our first trip outside Uganda, we had a hotel booked for all the tournament. We had tickets, of course, not air. Modern Costa. we used the buses. Then there was also the trip to Zambia. That was by then Clive Chaze is the one that went. Uganda was playing Zambia 2012, 2013. I think that was officially the first. Because Clive did not even have a passport. Clive, you should thank Kawowo Sports. First flight, everything was new. But then, like they say, the rest is history. Currently, I would say we are not only the best sports website or media outlet in Uganda, but East Africa as well, and Africa. We've covered big tournaments. We've been to the Africa Cup of Nations. We've been to the CHAN tournaments. We've been to the Olympics.
Olympics, yes.
We've been to the Commonwealth.
The All Africa Games.
The All Africa
We had
Games.
the biggest team at the All Africa Games, by the way.
All Africa Games,
As many as 14.
even in
I think-
France.
I think the 13 of us were.
Yeah,
at
even
the
in
All
France.
Africa
Actually,
Games.
sometimes I joke around and tell people that during the Paris Games, everybody at Kawowo traveled, including the chef. Because, most teams travel with their chefs. Kawowo did. So, like they say, the rest is history. But what we have to maintain is the quality and class. For people out there, I would like also to thank you, the fans, the readers, the people that watch us, the people that have advertised with us, the people that have always given us promises. So, like they say, the rest is history. We are big, and that's the journey.
Big stuff there from Koja Ismael Kiyonga, like we call
And
you
I'm
in
the
office.
Koja of the office. Sharifa Rama is the aunt of the office.
It's true.
Yeah. And by the way, I don't know whether she told you how I met her.
Yeah, she gave us a story of the breakdown of how the two of you connected.
Yeah, we connected, but maybe she missed something. We met at Silk.
Club Silk.
Yes. We met at Silk. She was a very young girl. Abitanga bichi. Street something, I've forgotten. Street bash?
Eh.
That's physically, that's where we met. But we, of course, through Facebook, we always used to communicate.
Yeah.
And she was very, very passionate about motorsport. And people out there may not know. I used to cover motorsport. I used to cover athletics. So sometimes you meet people like, we are manyi mupira. Some of your nambi manyi. Your nambi manyi. Na ye speciality is very important.
That's the legend of Koja Ismael Kiyonga. We're very, very grateful. My border guy loves Kiyonga. Every time he comes around, it's like, you Kiyonga. But I think that's the power of Kawowo Sports. We've become a big influence.
Talking about people that love us, on Tuesday last week, I was in Hoima, where President Ep.7 was commissioning the stadium. And when I flashed my ID, Kawowo Sports, the SFC guys that were doing the security checks, they are like, oh, kumbe you were the guy. We like you. Afande Kagaba, Jambo Sa, 180 former Express footballer, by the way. He's part of that team. So all guys that are in security organs and do for everything that we do here, we are grateful. They told me, hey, we follow Kawowo.
We're not a joking subject.
Of course, we are not a joking
now
subject. The president knows us. Yes, the president
And I was telling
knows
the
us.
guys in office the other day that every time I pass by guys, he says they keep referring to me as Weekly Wowos. So even Weekly Wowos is growing. But Koja Ismael Kiyonga, thank you for that starter. Of course, I'm your weekly host as usual, Dennis Musali. Let me go to Kyle as Kiyonga is taking a break, catching his breath for now. Kyle, your starter for the week. What stood out for you?
Yeah, going into what stood out for me, I'll thank the likes of Kiyonga who have kept the brand grow because some of us have just come in and they have set the bar high. So the moment we shake or joke a bit, they refer us to, man, you're joking with a big brand that has been kept for years. But to go straight to my starter still comes, my starter was the basketball until I saw a story written by the man next to me in Kiyonga about the prices being a bit far from what you would want, more so if you're weighing yourself with our neighbors, that is the likes of Rwanda, Kenya, Tanzania, but also the big guys in Egypt, South Africa, and the likes. because if you followed the game that was just in Kigali, that was between Nigeria and Rwanda, all the guys that were on the continent of Nigeria were talking sweet things alone about Rwanda. The coach saying that the country is more clean than where he comes from in France. Then Ikong saying that is the best stadium he's visited. Now you bring it down to comparison of Kampala and Nambole, and then you get to see that the price of watching a Uganda Cranes game is way far than even people who have better facilities. So I think that was a story that gave us great an insight. And I, for one, as a journalist, I felt a bit left out because I was asking myself, Kumba, I didn't know this thing all along. But the man helped us uncover the truth. And I think it's going to be a discussion in big offices because I do think this is a story that has moved a lot. If you see the comments that are down on the website, you feel everyone is interested, asking themselves, how can this happen? 8K at Amahoro, a stadium that is way on the class of Europe, and then you come to Nambole, whereby you don't have a media tribune for a journalist, and you're paying that much. Surely, for me, that was my biggest story of the week.
And I wanted to start from there. And I wanted to start from there exactly. That story, of course, triggering a lot of people in terms of the pricing and the costing. And like Kyle has mentioned, the price of watching a football game at the Mahoro, 8,000 shillings, and I think our producer is going to be flashing those numbers. But of course, again, the legend of Kiyonga, and this is the sort of content you won't find anywhere else apart from on Kawowo Sports. But Ismael, let me start from what got you to write that story.
It was instinctive. You know, I'm a big fan of African football. For people that follow me, you know, it's not just about the Cranes or the Uganda Premier League, but also African football, be it African leagues, be it African national teams. And then you wake up and feel like trying to research about what other people do that you don't, or what you do that other people don't do. That's how it all came up. I remember Nigeria was playing Rwanda, and Nigeria is a star-studded team. The likes of Ademola Lookman at Atalanta, Victor Osimhen, who is a target for most Premier League clubs, including Man United. Then William Trostekong, the captain. Eric Chere, their coach, is one of the celebrated ones in Africa. And then in Kenya, they're hosting Gabon, home to PLML Kabomeyang, Mario Lemina. Then South Africa, we always watch the PSL. They are playing against Lesotho, their neighbors. So that inspired me to say, this is some area that we've not looked into. Let me see, what do these people pay to watch all these stars or to watch their national teams? That's how I arrived at the story. For starters, this story is not aimed at bringing down anybody.
You are all castigating anyone.
All castigating anyone.
Disclaimer.
Yes, it's the value that you attach to your national team. So, in comparison to most African national teams, the Uganda Cranes is the biggest brand in regards to what they ask for to watch them.
That's the value we attach to the Uganda Cranes in Uganda.
And you know why I say that? People know I'm always on Akaboz Kubiri and Radio 1. When we hosted Nicolas Kiza, one of the administrators, I think it's the FIFA Vice President, Deputy CEO of football.
Yeah, Deputy CEO.
Yeah, somebody posed the question like that. In Rwanda, they pay this. In Kenya, they pay this. And he said that's the value they attach to their national team. For us, the value attached to the national team is that. So I wouldn't expect anybody from the FA then to call and say the timing of the story is bad. The comments I see on the website, especially those that are against the story. For me, people would be happy that the story highlights Uganda as the most expensive brand amongst national football teams in Africa. Secondly, we've always filled the stadium. So apart from currently South Africa are back watching, the Arabs, Egypt, then of recent Tanzania, not so many nationals watch the national team like Ugandans. It explains why their leagues are way too much above ours, but their national teams are not always given the priority, especially with fans. You'll find Yanga playing in Tanzania or Simba, and the stadium is full. But then Taifa Stars will be playing, and the stadium is not full. Maybe that also influences the pricing for the national team. But also, like you said, this will be a topic of discussion in some big offices because national teams are always funded by the governments, by the sponsors. There is also money that comes from CAF and FIFA. So there are question marks that will be answered. There are questions that need to be answered by the people that maybe price these matches. Because I know it's very easy to explain. If I was in the shoes of any of those people, I would defend the pricing, but then not castigating the writer. Because for me, I think this is a very, very good story that does not only sell FUFA, but Uganda as well.
Yeah, and you put it in context that it's not you've made the right you've chosen the right words by saying the value that we attach to our national team.
Because
for a very
that's
long
what
time, yeah,
the
for a very long
CEO
time
said.
the Cranes were playing away from home, and surely we were missing them. And then if you really love the team, 25k or 30k wouldn't really be an issue for you. And the last few games at Nambole have shown that people actually love the team, and they will pay any money. They will break the bank to go and watch their stars and cheer them on. When you compare the numbers, of course, they are indifferent.
Maybe the question will also be, if we don't get these numbers in the league that is played regularly, Tuesday, Friday, Thursday, do these people come to watch the national team, or they come to watch the stars of the other team?
That's something I've always also wondered, that all the guys who come out to support the Uganda Cranes, why don't they translate into supporting KCCA, Wakiso Giants, Mbare Heroes or Bright Stars? Where is the disconnect between the clubs and the national team? And maybe I'll start with Kyle.
Yeah, I think this is something that most of us have posed to FUFA, or the people that run football in the country. And I still stick to what the president has said, and that is Honorable Magogo, for saying that football should be sold as a product. Just like you wake up and sell a kilogram of sugar, there is a lot that you do when you're selling such a product. You're going to advertise. You're going to ensure that this kilogram of sugar has more quality than your neighbor. You're going to package it well. You're going to talk smartly to the one buying it and stuff like that. I do believe that there is a lot of investment that is put in marketing and organizing the whole product of a national team. I'll give you an example. You will see drives done by MTN. You will see drives done by the FUFA themselves. Recently, I even saw people giving the likes of Kasuku, Lydia Jasmine, and so on.
Kasuku nzijonkera. Kasuku otera kumpisamu eggari. Kasuku bakuwadde ticket. Abuuza waliyo ekyokulya. Naye nga Kasuku musajja wange mwagala nnyo, and he's a big fan of Kawowo by the yeah.
Of course, I don't agree with the strategy of using musicians and what to pull crowds. But if that is the strategy they are using and it's bringing numbers, well and good. But I think the way they invest in that much to go and make the gospel of the Uganda Cranes reach all over, to even the places that you think they cannot go to, that is the same effort they should be putting in the Premier League. Because while they channel the energy to FUFA Drum and leagues like that, I still think we've not sold our league well. Because sometimes, even for the biggest games, let me say, KCC is taking on Villa, you will not see such adverts. You don't see drives anywhere. You just see people drive themselves. Currently, you might say that the game that now brings a lot of noise on internet and what is KCC and Vipers. But that is from the fans. It has no push from FIFA. It has no push from UPL. So I think when they package these games better, just like they tell us that football is a product, I still think the numbers are there.
All right. It's on the clubs to make sure that it is.
No,
put
not
Yeah,
the
yeah,
clubs.
yeah. You
FIFA,
know-
FIFA should give us more. Surely FIFA can give us more.
I think
FIFA or the UPL. I thought the UPL now runs the league.
Yeah, they
and
do.
it is your responsibility now to make sure they have a lot of marketing around either their big games.
the thing is, they think started, I think, around 2004. We all know that time when things were not going well for the Uganda Premier League. A lot of match fixing allegation. You remember the Akol story in 2003. But the national team was not started playing under Dr. Lawrence Mulindwa or Engineer Moses Magogo. Previously, like I said, we are going to play Guinea. One of the best games that I've watched Uganda play was against Guinea in 2001, 2002. That was at Nachivubo. Fully packed. It ended 4-4. The best game that international game that I've seen, watched physically in Uganda. But by then, when Dr. Lawrence Mulindwa came into administration of FIFA, the concentration changed to just the Uganda Cranes. And I think this is where we lost it. Previously, under Dennis Obua, Twaka Kaire, the league was taken very important. Why? The league produces players that play for the national team. Whether it's Dennis Onyango, whether it's Ismael Watenga who play in South Africa, they played here first. They were in Vipers, they were in SC Villa. By that time, the league was given a lot of attention. And regardless of the fact that currently the Premier League is run by the UPL, an independent body, independent of FIFA, though not fully independent, but the FA was very, very much involved in the development of club football. And that's where fans would watch, say, Uganda versus Rwanda on Tuesday at Nambole. And then on Friday, Villa is playing against Kachira, and it's full stadium, you know. So the thing needs to go straight to FIFA, because at the end of the day, FIFA
Should have a bigger interest.
yes, is the custodian of the game.
Yeah.
But when you look at the current administration, starting with the one under Dr. Lawrence Mulindwa, all the concentration was given to the national team. According to FIFA, or the association at FIFA, it's all about qualification to the Africa Cup of Nations, qualification to the AFCON Unders, winning this title, everything. But the league should be the pillar of the game in the country. None of us was born when the English won the World Cup, I think in 1966. Yeah. They have not won the Euros, you know? But the English Premier League is the best league in the world. Why? It's not just that it's run by the Premier League, but there were efforts by the FA to make their game the best. Because national football, national team football, for instance, this is 2025. We're going to play, we played 2 matches in March. You're going to play 2 matches in June. And we are playing 2 matches in September. Those are 6 matches. If there was no tournament like AFCON, where you're going to be, All Chan, those would be just 6 matches. Why should we just plan for 6 matches and forget the 240 in the Premier League? The 180 or 240 still in the FIFA Big League. Because without the Big League, without the Premier League, we are not going to have Alan Okero. We are not going to have Rogers Mato. But we only, the federation only pampers them when they are at the top. What have they done to help these clubs? A lot has to be done. Yes, people say, for us, we market the national team, and we get the sponsors. We get the MTNs, the Bull, the Nile Brides, everything. But what about explaining to these these very sponsors of yours as well, that we have the core that is the Premier League. The Premier League is played every week. It only gets to rest, I think, maybe June, July, and maybe August. Those are just 3 months. But the national team can spend a year without a game, just in case you don't qualify for the group stages of these qualifiers. So for me, FIFA is responsible, and of course other stakeholders. You can't take away the fact that in the early 20s, there was a lot of malpractice, match fixing allegations. Then, of course, the administrators by then also did not cater for the future, and also the fans as well, the hooliganism, because when you go to watch the national team, you're very sure you're not going to see a stone thrown at you. But watching Virex Place, you're not so sure whether you're going to live with all your ears and eyes intact. So a lot of things, but it all goes back to the federation. How do we get our league back? By the way, when the league is blossoming, people will not ask much about the pricing of the national team matches. They will not talk about the losses in the defeats in Mozambique or Cairo or Egypt, because they are losing today. Yes, the Cranes have lost. Not that they will be happy. You have to feel sad as a fan, as a Ugandan. But you sure, KCC is playing on Thursday. That's where my happiness is always is, because this is routine. The national team is once in a while. The English lost the Euros, I think, on penalties. Have you seen Man United fans not going to watch United play against West Ham because the English lost? No. So the Premier League is their pillar.
Yeah.
We should make ours the pillar as well, because it's the one that produces those players that we come to watch on the national team.
Yeah.
And lastly about that, 70% of fans that go to watch the national team are not football fans. They just go there
for the experience.
For the experience. They go for an outing, you know, because
70%.
70%. Actually, it could be even more. It could be even more. We always give out tickets here.
I know that Kariako Derby is a big tourist attraction as well.
But that's for, at least for the fans, for the football. But here, people will even ask you, Samba qualifiers zachi. Atembade manyi twazi. Ngate bamanyi na kigenda maso. But they will come. Every time the national team is playing. Why? Because that's what we've made people to feed on. Kawowo should be thanked by the federation, by UPL, by every footballer in Uganda. They write about local football almost every day.
Yeah.
It does not have to wait for Uganda to host Jimmy. Because some people go to Nambole as an outing, a boyfriend and a girlfriend. Then others go to watch the likes of Selo Guilasi from Borussia Dortmund. Some want to see Mohamed Salah. It's not even about the players in the yellow, black or red.
Yeah.
I'm going to ask a simple question here. Without Googling, you viewers out there, tell me where these players play their clubs. Rogers Mato.
Macedonia.
Which club? Actually, you know. But people know that Naby Keita plays for this club. And they'll be asking you, is he part of the Gin team? You say no, and he's like, ask Genda. And you're like, this is Uganda Cranes. That's why sometimes we even have unnecessary debates. Lwachi mukundane tasamba, lwachi good. Because they just hear the name. They don't go to watch. Eh?
Yeah, and I would like to tell the guys who like all the people who would like to know where these players play from. Please, like we say in office or in our WhatsApp group, so Kawowo, you will find out all the details about these players. But sticking with the Uganda Cranes, and I'll start with Kyle. Ismael Kiyonga normally gives his ratings for all the players who play every after a game. Yeah. But I'll start with Kyle. Uganda going down 3-1 to Mozambique. Where I was with my fellow fellas as we were trying to analyze the game, I said the red card was a problem. Other than that, would have been able to match Mozambique pound for pound. But Uganda going down 3-1 against Mozambique. Was the result expected or a bit of a surprise?
I could say, I for one, it was a shock. But as the game kept unpanning, you felt like Mozambique were the more ready team than we were. Because right from that goal that we conceded, you felt it was something deliberate. Because these guys stretch the box and then just stand on the line. So they leave lot of space in front of the goalkeeper. So the goalkeeper falls for the trap and then is off his line, and then they get the goal. When you look still at the second goal, while the goal goes past Warenga's armpit, two players are ready to tap it, and I still think mentally they were far ready. But you see, when you look at this Ugandan team, I still think players have to be called for caution. While sometimes you want to say Watenga, oh, who, me, I still think it should be a team that is called to caution. Because, yes, we've seen it all over. Keepers make mistakes, players make mistakes. But then what are other players doing? I still think we didn't handle this game as a team. Because while Watenga made an error in the 3rd minute, we go on to equalize. Then from that point, we had to lift ourselves up, get into the game, and then get onto the front foot. But we were second best in whatever happened. In fact, when you say second best, it might look like we did something. But we were 4th or 5th best at everything. Come to duels, come to fighting for the ball, come to assists, come to attempts. We were always coming just next to Mozambique, which I think for the level of the national team, we do believe that here we have creme de la creme, players that have been tried and tested. So coming on this stage, you have to offer the best, not just giving us whatever you think is enough for that day, but you need to give us the best.
Yeah, an off day for, of course, the goalkeeper there, Ismael Watenga, who for me was one of our better players in that AFCON campaign. He was really very outstanding in goal. But that Mozambique game, an off day for him because of his quality. Ismael Kiyonga, from your ratings, what did you make of that particular game? And Watenga had even to be, I don't know how that works on his, I don't know if he asked to be substituted, but he was substituted at halftime. Nefan Lyons coming into goal for him, which I also felt like that is a big blow to his confidence. But I mean, the decisions, we don't know what exactly happened inside the dressing room. Maybe he must have asked to just be left out and someone else can be able to carry on. But from your ratings of the players on that particular day, is the scoreline 3-1 fair enough?
You know, one of the managers of the national team, Paul Mukatabala, went to X and was defending this the scoreline. Actually, he says the scoreline does not reflect the performance, saying that Uganda should have got more from the game. But then he was talking about the 2 chances that we had, Khalid Aucho forcing a good save from the goalkeeper, and then Alan Okello rattling the bar. But he forgets that before those moments, we could have been 5-6-1 down. So I wasn't shocked because, like I said, I follow a lot of African football. I follow a lot of players from Africa. Most of those players, like I said before, play in the Portuguese league. And they are performers in their respective leagues. And the style of play is more similar to the Portuguese style. And even so, I don't want to be racist, but the color. Most of those people are not even black. So they have roots from Mozambique, born in Portugal. And so they are trying to return to their homes, just like we have Bevis Mugabe, Toby Speak, and others, Elio Caprados. So those guys are playing top football. And they are playing very good football. You see, in Uganda, we have a tendency of thinking that Uganda is at a level where we should be competing with the likes of Nigeria, the likes of Egypt, Morocco.
In short, are you saying thank
you. We are not yet at that level. When you mention the name Mozambique, realistically, it's a smaller name compared to Uganda in terms of football, but they've been growing. For people that have been following the game like they've been growing. I wasn't shocked. There are national teams that have grown in recent years in leaps and bounds. Mozambique, Comoros, Cape Verde, those islanders, and even Angola, they are close to the Portuguese. And most of the players that cannot make it to the Portuguese national team, they always come to some of those nations. You know, this
In
former
fact,
United boy.
I could
Bebe.
add in Mauritius on
Yeah, Mauritius as well.
Mm.
I remember when they came here at, was it Lugogo, and they gave us a run for our money. So maybe because of their name, the Cranes underlooked the fixture. Secondly, tactically, we are very naive. For instance, when you look at the goal number one that we conceded, people talk about Ismael Watenga. Of course, he takes the bigger brain. But talking about this goal, I've always given an example of Arsenal. They've been the best team in terms of set pieces in the Premier League, and I think even in Europe as well. During their corner kicks, you rarely see any of their players in the opponent's box. Or if they are there, they're always far down at opposite of the wing that the corner is going to come from. So these Mozambicans move out of our area. And then all the defenders follow them. When Arsenal does that, the opponents always stay in their defending area because they know, regardless of whatever they are going to do, they want to come here.
Yeah. They want to attack the ball.
They want to attack the ball. When you stay here, you're monitoring. I want people to go watch Arsenal doing corners and what the opponents do. That's where Uganda Cranes failed in that game. Because if these defenders stayed in their area, the 6-yard box, trying to know these guys are going to come and attack the ball, Watenga would have stayed on the line. But because there was nobody in front, it gives Watenga space to come. And then the guy that was doing the corner, the technique, Pedro Santos, the technique, the game intelligence and everything, and the swerve on the ball gets Watenga out of his way. But in reality...
Ismael, I thought it is the work of the goalkeeper in such an area to command players for where to be, because it is his...
No, it also depends. One, it is his technical area. But remember, Watenga is not at the level of Dennis Onyang in terms of experience. So there are other players like Aucho Khalid. Aucho Khalid has been on this team since, I think, 2013. Those are like 12, 13 years. And Bevis Mugabe has played in Europe all his life. He's a big lad. You don't fall players, especially when they move out of your area. I'll give an example of the Barcelona of the old. And I'll say this in Uganda. Barcelona was playing against AC Milan. The AC Milan of Gattuso, Ambrosini, Pirlo, and everyone. And I have 3 scenarios here. So Barcelona tries to play from the back, attracting the attention of Gattuso and the company to come for the ball, then get to where they've left spaces. Gattuso told his teammates, abo batulimba bagala kujja eno ffe tubeereyo. Of course, he didn't speak in Uganda. He was speaking in Italian. So, I'll get a example set. And I want to say these 2 examples in Uganda because they were in Uganda. Police was playing against Mbarara City. The police of Abdallah Mbiru that used to
pass the ball.
Yes. So Mbarara ngetudde mabega playing the low block. Because they were attracted to the ball, with the police playing from the back, police got those openings. So Coach Chiria was on the technical bench for Mbarara City. He tells his players, temuddamu kwagala mupiira ogwo baagala mugubalekere because wogubalekera they will not have the spaces. But if we're attracted to that ball, and Mbarara ne baddamu ne batulema. Bright Stars was playing Steel Police. And then Police was doing the same with Bright Stars sitting at the back. Then the coach Abdallah Mbiru tells his players, tusambireke ne waffe bajje. Hamza Muwonge was in goal for Bright Stars. In his small voice, he said, batulimba, mubalekete mugendayo. So, if the defenders, the experienced defenders, Elio Caprados, the one that has played for the Italian national team at underage, Bevis Mugabe, that has played at top level, sincerely. If you cannot interpret that these people are going to attack this ball, and you leave all this space, I don't know how to describe you there. But I think it was a collective responsibility on that goal. Yes, Watenga should have done better, but let's not castigate him alone. Then goal number 2. Ball over the top. Bomono doesn't hold his line. Of course, with the VAR, you could say maybe the guy was offside, the guy that crossed. Elio Caprados is here. I don't know whether there was a communication from Watenga to leave the ball for him, because he should have kicked that ball to the corner and then we defend. He didn't do that. We concede. Goal number 3. Ball over the top. Bevis Mugabe. Big, tall lad.
He looked so poor.
Why should somebody get behind you? You know? So, yes, the red card could have been a turning point. But also, sometimes teams play better with the red card, because after that red card, it was now advantage Mozambique. When in Uganda, you're going to be cautious. Maybe attack versus attack. We could have considered more, but of course we wouldn't know. That's something we wouldn't know. But for me, Mozambique was a better side. They deserved to win, and I wasn't shocked. They were better. And in terms of quality, they are still better than Uganda. When you look at where their players play, their best player, Leidino Mandava, plays in the Champions League. I was on radio commentating Real Madrid against Atletico Madrid. And this guy was holding Rodrigo and Vinicius Jr. And I said, Rogers, Matt and company, watch, this guy is holding Vinicius Jr. Are you ready? Maybe they didn't listen.
maybe there's no but I know it does. You have an online version. I was going to say maybe the Kawowo Kubiri doesn't reach Macedonia.
Kawowo does. Kawowo is like Kawowo. You know, I am always at international things. Yes.
They should be able to find you. But of course, the Uganda Cranes unfortunately going down to Mozambique. And I've just read your preview for the game against Guinea. We'll pick it up from there, because tomorrow there's no rest for them. Tomorrow the boys come back in. They'll be back in action at Nambole. There's a name I saw in that lineup, your probable 11, a name I have never heard of, but at least in Somaka now I've heard of it. Sidik, something like that.
Toby Sibik.
Your preview for the game tomorrow, what do you think will happen? Can the Uganda Cranes be able to get a win at home? Of course, now Mozambique is top of that table.
Mozambique
last
and
week,
Algeria.
Kyle and Franklin said we're not going to the World Cup, but we can use this as a path for us to prepare well for Chan and also prepare well for the AFCON that we are going to host. I mean, AFCON later in the year, and then, of course, the one we shall be hosting.
Yeah, I think I agree with them. First of all, it's going to be tough for Uganda to dislodge the top 2. That's Mozambique and Algeria. Remember, the 2026 World Cup, Africa is going to have 9 representatives. Each team that tops the group goes direct, and then the 4 second best teams go into a playoff. The winner goes into a continental playoff, I think with some other countries in Oceania and over where. So Uganda is going to find it tough to go into the top 2. However, there are still 15 points to fight for. If Uganda wins all those games, they get 15 points. They're on 21. Seriously, they will have qualified for the World Cup. But playing Guinea, Guinea comes here in the same scenario as when Algeria came. When Algeria came here, I think that was in June last year, over September. They had lost to Guinea at home. And they needed to win by all costs. You know, big teams don't rarely lose back to back, or drop points back to back, because they know these are just 2 games in an international window, and 2 games in an international window that always have 6 points. The least they always want to take is at least 4. Guinea comes here well aware they are second favorites in terms of seeding to Algeria, but then that's not what the table reflects. They know they have to win. There are so many points to play for still. Uganda has to win as well. One, for the fans, after that disappointing performance in Kaile against Mozambique. And 2, given that the number increased from 5 to 9 or even 10, you never know. We can even qualify for the World Cup as well. Mathematical, until it's impossible, we can still qualify. So when playing against a must-win game, against an opponent with a higher pedigree than you, it's always tough. We saw South Africa come here and beat us. We saw Algeria come here and do the same. And I've warned my people in East Africa. These pitches that we've made, we are celebrating. Nambole, big pitch, very good grass. Then Amahoro, very good grass. Nyayo, well. very good grass. Against superior opponents, we shall be more like the away teams until we get used to that passing game. So I won't be surprised if we don't win tomorrow. But then Guinea has never won a game in Uganda. Like I said, the best game that I've watched internationally was a 4-4. The late Jamiru Chambade. And then Guinea had Titi Kamara. They had Mansale something. The guy was putting on shirt 7. He had tinted hair. But the last time they were in Uganda, 2014, Uganda won 2-0. Geoffrey Massa scoring a brace in the first half. But in the second half, they were all of us, the likes of Saidi Suma. And somebody just saved the nation by tapping into the wires. Nambole became dark. On resumption, the guys had cooled down. That's how we won. So it's going to be tough. They have one of the best strikers in Europe currently. Selo Guirassi played so well at Stuttgart last season. He's doing wonders at Borussia Dortmund. And then where we shouldn't even underlook them is the fact that maybe they drew 0-0 with Somalia. Let's not forget, Somalia with 10 men, we only beat them 1-0. Secondly, for people that did not watch that game, the Somalia goalkeeper made 15 saves against these guys. 15 saves. They had 23 attempts. Wow. 15 on target. So Michel Duzea, their coach, is very experienced. He has always come to Uganda actually with various teams. I think the last time he was still with the one with Guinea. Very experienced. He says this is a game they need to win. But they know at Nambole we rarely lose. And I believe we are not going to lose. But if we lose or don't get points, don't be surprised, the Ugandans. We are not as good as those guys.
That is the message from the Koja. And if he speaks, the rest of us listen. Uganda taking on Guinea tomorrow evening at the Mandela National Stadium. It should be a tricky game, but Woes Kawowo, Ismael Kiyonga has written a very good preview about that game. And a probable 11 of who is going to be featured.
I want to see CBK play.
Yeah, a probable 11.
He plays for Wigan Athletic in the championship. And I've seen him play by the regularly. I want him to play. I want Awanyi to play. I want to see Enoko Sebagala play. I want to see Patrick Adjona Kakande play. But of course I'm not the coach. Dear Paul Put, I know you're watching.
Paul put a message for you, a message to you.
I told you Uganda bitegedde. Wabata bitegedde senior Mulondo. Manyoyo Mulondo amuvuga. Twakochingako team aba. Bajitanga Thunders. He knows the history. Thunders Football Club. Eyavamu David Baiga. Baiga was our number 6. They were at neck now. So I've coached some players, man.
We'll have another whole episode of the weekly Woes for you, Ismael Kiyonga, and we're very, very grateful for you for passing by.
Thank
but
you.
I'll go to Kyle. I want to find out from Kyle. Kyle, your prediction for tomorrow's game. What do you make of it?
Yeah, tomorrow's game should not be a game that really keeps us on pressure. It should be a game whereby we go out there to try and put the blocks together. And by blocks, I mean have our players in sync, but also try to have something that we play that at least has a formula, that at least has a formation. Because I, for one, watching that game of Mozambique, I still think that we lacked a formula. We didn't have any sort of formation in what we were doing, and that made us look a bit clueless. And for the players that I beat in a better mental state, but also higher, they've gone through better hands, we'll always punish you on such days, because they clearly know these guys are not ready for the game. So we punish them as soon as possible, then later on we can see what happened. Because you see, when we went into for that break, and the coach talked to the boys, I'm sure he told them about some of the players, what they were doing, how to move, how to handle the game. We looked far better in the second half. So on such a level, you'll always be punished whenever you look clueless. So tomorrow, I do hope that at least we come back with better heads, at least, better heads. That I must stick on it, because we didn't have the heads in that game and we were punished. Then on the side of the players have to take responsibility, surely. Many will talk about Watenga, but most of the goals were clearly team goals, goals that can be avoided. Because if you're a player and you see a player going past you, and you want the player behind you to take care of the player that is going past you, then what about the player behind you saying the other person will take care? We cannot keep giving responsibility to others. It should be responsibility that is taken up, but also our senior players should start showing up. The likes of Aucho giving side passes all through, and then throughout the whole game, the only highlight that you can see is a shot that is saved by a goalkeeper. I still think our senior players can do better.
Yeah, the Uganda Cranes tomorrow will be in action, and they will need a big result when they take on Guinea at home. We don't lose very often at Nambole, and you hope that tomorrow the boys can be able to show up and make us very, very proud. So that game happening tomorrow, 7 p.m. We shall have a live ticker for the game on Kawowo Sports website. If you cannot be able to make it to the Mandela National Stadium, but if you can, the boys will need your support to make sure that they get a good result against Guinea. These are the World Cup qualifiers, by the way. Do not be confused by the so many qualifiers. These are the World Cup qualifiers where the Uganda Cranes are trying to make sure they can get into the World Cup in 2026 in the USA. But leaving that conversation of the Uganda Cranes, and of course letting Koja Ismael Kiyonga go, I have two basketball resident experts. Franklin Kawowo, our editor, joins us, and they are going to be talking about a very, very big weekend of the Uganda Basketball League. Because of time, I'm going to split their two roles. I'll get Kyle to talk about the ladies' game. Big games on the opening weekend. JT Jaguars taking on the JKL Dolphins. And I think on this particular show, we had asked that the first weekend should have all those big games to sort of set the
it was my request. And
request granted. And of course, later on, the City Oilers and Namuongo Blazers playing out a beautiful game. The Blazers winning that one by 1 point. And JT Jaguars upsetting the champions. I want to start with Franklin, and I want to start with the logistics. There's a new sheriff in town in charge of the league. Of course, the club managers now responsible for the league.
Yeah.
How were the logistics for the game? Was it easy to get in? Could you find a drink? Let me skip the other part of I can't find my seat or anything. But basically, the logistics of the evening, because to have your let's say to have your two best fixtures in a season on the opening weekend sort of puts a lot of pressure on you to make sure you deliver. You'd want to start off on sort of a softer landing with the smaller teams, how do you manage the ticketing and all that detail. But the club managers going for broke and deciding to make sure they have their best games of either they wanted to make money to run the next weekend, but the logistics of trying to get into the MTN the Lugogo arena, the Lugogo indoor arena.
To start with, I think what you can expect from a big game is that accessibility obviously is going to be a little bit problematic because of the numbers, obviously. So logistically, it was the first experience for the league committee. Okay, obviously the man they get from outside, but getting a drink is always hard to go because obviously drinks are not served inside the arena. You have to move out and come back in to get yourself a drink. And in doing that, because of the overwhelming numbers, the chances of finding your seat taken are very high. Very high. So I think most of the people who are not certain of their seats, they would just rather see throughout the entire game and then drink later. But in terms of logistics, it wasn't as soft as it would have been. It is a first experience. But I think there is a lot of room for improvement, really. And the next big game, next Friday game, we hope it is even going to be better.
Next Friday, hopefully, will be better. Kyle, for you, were you impressed first time? The clubs who have always been demanding to be in charge, given the responsibility, were you impressed that for the first time, you can forgive a couple of things, but all went well?
Yeah, first of all, the JKL proprietor, that is Freedom, I was outside. He's a man that sometimes creates lots of noise close to the referees, but
he's the chairman of the committee.
This time round, he was on the gate to see that things go on well, and I still think for the gate was really organized. There were around 4 people that were working on people that were getting the tickets, which created it allowed the fans to get in with comfort, not to squeeze or push. Then when you went in, of course the crowds were many, and I for one, I think they didn't plan much to have those crowds. Yes, they knew the crowds would be many, but they were not so ready for the crowds that came in, because at a moment you felt like players were not given a chance to concentrate in the game, because fans kept moving. And you see, for a player, and you're dribbling someone, and then a fan is just passing besides, there is that conscience that comes in. You don't want to go in hard. You feel you might end up knocking the fan or what, but also for your side, you're not concentrating, which I think didn't give the players quite a good place to play basketball. And I think they can plan that better, because I saw the General Secretary serving seats when games are going on, and guys are carrying plastic seats. I think that is not safe for a player, because while you're going in for a charge or what, you might land on a plastic chair, and it's not safe for a player. So I think there are things they can improve. That is inside. How do you handle the crowds? How do you take care of the people that have come to play the game, to watch the game, so that they have the courage to come back again? That can be better. But outside, I think there was some.
There was some certainty, but also I think the payment platform, the FlexPay platform, I think they still have the codes for last season, and some guys had already done the pre-buying on their FlexPay app. Actually, when I was accessing the stadium, one of the fans was complaining that I had already bought using the old platform. Now, because of this change of management, so you cannot use that. The platform, I think, has changed a little bit. I'm not sure about that. But based on the complaint of that fan, I think the payment platform has to be revised to take into account the changes that have happened with the federation and the league manning the gates.
Yeah, sort of maybe an overwhelming weekend for everyone, but also a good lesson. It gives you a perspective that what should we do when we're going to handle big numbers like this. But a great weekend to start off things. And let's go now to the action. Namwongo Blazers sending a statement.
Why don't we start with the women?
Okay, ladies first.
We want to
JT
start it
Jaguars.
hot.
JT Jaguars upsetting. If I've used the wrong word, you correct me. But JT Jaguars, of course, upsetting the champions, JKL Dolphins. What did you see in that game, Kyle? Oh, you've been telling us about JT Jaguars and how they are going to change the status quo because the Dolphins have been dominating women's basketball for quite some time.
And that's how people are terming me as a fan of JT.
Are you not?
But no, I'm a fan of UCU. I've always made that clear. Yeah, but before my editor attacks me, I will say that the game was interesting, surely. And like I said, on a show that is about to come in, I told people that the women's game will be more interesting than the men's game. Though the men's game will have bigger names, but the women's game will be more interesting. There were lots of changes when it came to leads. Every team had a chance to lead until the dying seconds. You felt like either side would take away the game. But I still think for attitude, JT turned up with a big mentality. They had Mamba souls throughout the game because everything they were doing would show you that they are dying. I don't know if it's because of the 130K has also brought problems in the league.
Explain the 130K.
The
that
130K
locker room winning bonus for the teams.
The winning bonus is now giving teams a drive for every game. You feel players fight for every possession. In that, even players that you felt were calm, humble, Tevayomba, now you hear a player saying a word and they're like, man, it's a ball. So it shows you that, the winning bonus has brought more energy into the game. But going into the game proper...
So the winning bonus goes to only the winning team?
Yes.
Winning teams and 12 players and 4 coaches or technical staff.
I think they should add me on that list of UCU.
130K. So in the game proper, what do you feel was the difference between the two teams? Because, I mean, JKL Dolphins are the champions. How were they pushed aside by JT Jaguars? Yeah,
I think JT Jaguars had quite a good defensive partnership. They had discipline in them, but also I felt the bench did something whenever it came to pushing the game. Because for the rotation, you feel that the players that come off the bench give a good cover for the first 5. And that way, whenever the team is, whenever the leads are switching, you want your bench to give you points whenever they come in before your star players come in too. So those players at least did well. You could name a few players that were outstanding, and you felt on a day like that, they shocked me, for one. And I'll go for Wangeshi, for a player that gave a crowd a reason to shout, a reason to go off the seat, going past some senior players that we know in Rita. She gave quite some hard time to the players that kept manning the rim or manning the D, because she was a player who was in drive. Each time she caught the ball, she wanted to beat that player that is just next to her. Then still, I can't go off before giving thumbs up to Shakira, because for her first game into a new team, it's good to shine in one team and then flop in another. It is very easy. We've seen such players. But for her first game, like she loves to say it, that she gives her best each and every time she comes on the court. This time I felt she didn't give the best, that I can say, but at least she looked decent. And for that role of point guard, of course, her and Rhoda, they will have quite a good say when it comes to handling the ball, but also dictating play.
Wow, JT Jaguars stating or laying down the gauntlet for the rest of the teams, and which are the champions as well. But the men's game, of course, usually you want to say is the highlight of the evening.
Yeah, always coming to that.
The Namongo Blazers standing a statement to the dictator that if things go your way this season, you won't have everything your way this season. Yeah. Winning that one 81-80. Are the numbers telling a lie, or were the Blazers fortunate to get that win against the City Oilers?
The result is a big lie. I thought it is just a win you can take, not a win you deserved. If anything, the dictator said he's here to stay. Why do I say
Kawowo
that?
reality.
No. Kawowo is saying the truth.
Why do I say that? The State Oilers were short of 3 players. Their top players. They were without Fayed Bale, Titus Rual, and Ivan Mohoez, their captain. And the account that the rest of the players gave. In fact, most of the people, when they read the stories of those 3 being out of the game, they thought it was going to be an easy game. I myself thought it was going to be an easy game. But the kind of defensive scheme that the State Oilers put out, I think was very, 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 very important in how that game panned out. They tried to take away everything that I thought Namblazers would do better. I think at practice Namblazers tried to move the ball and a lot in getting good open shots. Of course, they tried to do that and got Ochera some wide open shots. Of course, they got some balls to the post, but of course they missed. But the most important thing is State Oilers played that game so well and gave a good account of themselves that, look, if you're going to have to dethrone us, you're going to be 4 times better than what you put out today. And obviously you could see it in the eyes of the experienced players, Jimmy, Tony, that this is not a game that they won deservingly, if I may say that. It is a game that they won, but they know for sure they can do better than that. And
Why were the other 3 missing? Are they injured?
Yes, Fayed and Titus are out injured, while Ivan was kept out by family reasons. That I can't say.
No, you don't have to. No, but please, as you talk about that particular game, so clearly some work to do, and I think I mentioned it the other time that if you want to remove someone who's been winning the league 10 times in a row, La Decima, right? 10 times in a row, you will need to do 10 times 2 of what he's been doing for you to be able to. And that's why I was asking you guys, can the Blazers afford to remove the dictator? Because it will ultimately come down to that.
Yes. It is too early to think of that if they are going, because at the end right now you don't know how these guys are going to get together by semi-season, okay? And you want to give them the benefit of the doubt to have that time of gelling. Of course, all the teams across have new players coming together and all that. So even City Oilers have their own new crop. Actually, they had 3 new guys on the court, and one of them was absolutely killing Namblazers. You know, Edgar Mnaba. He found every lane a driving lane, like clear, unlike what he has been doing in at KRU, where he's forcing his way through players. I thought the choices that he made in when to drive and when to stay out was excellent. And for me, if you can put it in a layman's language, Munaba Yabade Mulongo, same not the other good kind of player that he has been. And that should be giving
he also looked decent on the line, by the way. Yes,
that should be giving other teams a lot of nightmares. Now that when you're drawing your scouting report, he's top of the list.
Yeah, the Namongo Blazers, of course, getting the win, but like Franklin has mentioned, they will just take the win, but they will know that given the performance is not at championship level, and we always know City Oilers probably start very, very slow during the regular season, but they're sort of different animal when it comes to the playoffs, and that's where they like sort of bring their A game, and next thing you know, they are champions of the league. But that was on Friday. There were a couple of games on Saturday as well. But is that a good indication of us having a very strong season and having new champions in the season?
Yeah, when you look at the numbers that were there on Friday, you feel there are people that love the game, and there are people who are ready to follow this game. So it goes back to the federation and everyone that has a say in the federation to try and see how they push the game. I, for one, I still think Namblazers can look way better, because for the new players that are into this team, they have to think. I saw some players not getting the passes of Drileba, not knowing that this is the pass he's trying to give me, this is a pass is. But also, I felt the three players started a bit, and I don't know if I should call it pressure or what, but they wanted to prove something, and somehow it didn't go right for them, because you felt some shots were forced, some drives were forced, and somehow you felt like it was not all going well for them, just because they wanted to make a point. When Jimmy later on came on in the second half, at least to be specific, with a bit calm nerves, everything started going on well, and I think it was the difference because he's the one who had the biggest drive for Namong.
What was clear in that game is that James Okedo, of course, Jimmy himself, and Tony, I think there was some sort of pressure. They were trying too hard. For me, I was seeing them during practice and off-season games. I thought they were under a lot of pressure. Something like that. And that
trying to show your ex that you've moved on.
Yes, and that translated into not playing particularly well. I did not see them, and this is the entire team, share the ball as much as they were doing during their practice games. I did not see them, one of the defensive schemes that I know for sure their coach prefers, like Andrew Tendo, of course, they like to put pressure on the ball, especially, but when you look at how Benjamin Kaumi controlled that game for State Oilers, you don't expect that boy to have a better game in terms of controlling the game and all that better than Tony or Jimmy or even Joel Lukoji. Okay, but Kaumi had the control over that game to give Ben Komakej the freedom to do whatever he wanted, which he was the most productive, I think, for State Oilers until he ran out of legs, of course. That catches up with you at some point. And it was the same stuff on Namong Blazers. Jimmy got to a point where he could barely move, and until they called the timeout to take a breather. And, you know, that came to a point where Balibas and Nyanga Yagao Kaka said, let's get this out of the way. But I think after this, of course, there's going to be a lot of reflection, obviously, on both sides. For Andrew Tendo, the State Oilers guy, is going to be easy. Like, we did pretty well, very, very well. And I think he'll be pleased with how his boys played. I can't say the same of Nam Blazers, really.
Yeah, Andrew Tendo, his team might have gotten the L, but I think he was a more satisfied coach with the performance of his team.
Absolutely.
And a lot of work to do for the Namongo Blazers. But the national basketball season back on, and starting with some mouth-watering action. Those games will continue. There were games on Sunday in Lugogo.
It is important to tell Kyle that the team that he thinks is going to win very many games has lost the 2 games on the weekend. Your favorite team.
UCU.
No, that is Kampala Rockets. No, I was very disappointed with Kampala Rockets. Of course, it can't be my second team, but for the players that they signed and for how they looked like on paper, I must say, you felt they were a team that was going to create some noise. I'm a big fan of their coach because I love his calmness.
Then it's not the thing about winning the game on paper.
And I just wanted to ask you guys, we watched a couple of playoffs for the Division 2 teams that were coming up. I don't know how the Saints are doing. Our Savior and I think Our Savior and Saints.
Victoria Crocs.
Victoria Crocs and Westlife.
They won their game. They won their game. And on this side of Raise Life, they played 2 games in the opening week, losing 1 to KCC, which I still think they put up a big fight in the 4th quarter, because they were trailing by 11 points
11, yes.
with 5 minutes to play. But then the game had to go down to the wire that KCC won it by 3 points. Yet you think KCC had a far much better team on paper with very experienced players here and there.
We already dismissed papers.
Kyle likes winning games on paper, but
no, you see, there is a roster that you look at and you feel confident, but that was not the thing. But then they came on to reclaim themselves. That is Raise Life. Maybe on Sunday after prayers down at Luvoa, they came with the blessings. And they won a game yesterday, which I think
against Rockets. Those, let me put it this way: the way Rockets are started, I think Coach Naja has one of the issues that he has to fix is that zone defense is going to trouble him this whole season. And not just him. Our coaches have a tendency of knowing how to play the zone defense, but they don't know how to beat the zone defense. Every time he puts on his three best players, who are all big men, a team is always going to play zone defense because they know for sure there is no shooter on the team. And the thing with playing the zone defense is that you're not going to have access to the rim quite easily. So if there is anything that he needs to early change right now, I think he needs to revise on how he's going to beat zone defense, because they're going to be throwing at him every time when he wants production from his best players. In you from Pierre, you're talking Ozeas and the other guy on the team. Every time he goes with those three players on, the teams are going to throw a zone defense at him, and because these guys cannot shoot from outside, it's going to be difficult for them to win games. And that is what was happening yesterday. That is what happened on Saturday. Yeah. It's that you get your best three players on, they know they can't shoot, zone. Yeah. You take them off, they go man to man. And how he alternates around his players will be important on how your Kampa Rockets perform. Really.
Yeah, but it's also important to tell our viewers that the ladies team of KCC had the biggest win of the weekend. And like, I love to follow players that are coming from UCU.
Against a team that was sneaked into the league.
Yeah, but it was the biggest, we can say. Okay. And Tracy Namugosa having a good game. I texted her. Of course, I was not so sure of the team she was going to play for. She kept telling me different teams, but when I texted her, she told me she's confident with the team that they have at KCC, and they're ready to go all the way. Now, if they started with a much weaker team, we are waiting to see how they will look like when they play against the bigger teams.
I think
what are your bigger teams? What are your bigger teams?
JT Jaguars,
my bigger teams? Yes. The host has told you. we have JKL, we have JT, we have UCU.
UCU now.
That has been the news from the National Basketball League, and of course every week our producer is fighting for it. That's about time. But before we go, there will be some mentions, very importantly. Christine Coventry, the Olympian from Zimbabwe, winning the IOC presidency, the first woman president of the International Olympic Committee, and the youngest as well, only 41 years old. Just in 2012, I think she was winning Olympic gold and bronze for Zimbabwe. She was a swimmer, so that was a big victory for Africa as well, for Christine Coventry winning that one. Sharifa last week spoke about the WRC, Evans winning that race. But the big news from that race, I think, is that Yasin Nasser finally, on 3 attempts, being able to win, to finish the rally, and he was ranked 3rd amongst the drivers in Africa.
Yes.
So that
Africa
was a big performance there from Yasin Nasser. Unfortunately, the crew of David Gawaya couldn't take part in the rally, disqualified because of some technicalities, I think, on their car. We'll have Sharifa to come and recap all of that for us. But maybe finally, just to talk about the Bat Ball Max tournament. Franklin Kawila. So I've never seen Franklin this happy after watching a sports match. He's usually happy when he's watching basketball or his express. But he was shaking our hands all over the place after watching that final. Yeah. But an interesting final between Gold and Emerald. Were you impressed?
Extremely impressed. I've not seen a T20 game in this country all the time, and I've watched cricket for some time, I think from around 2012, 2013, watching local cricket like religiously. I've not seen a T20 game as interesting as that. I unfortunately missed the group game that had scores in 200s, but this was it. This was IPL stuff.
Yeah, IPL stuff, like Franklin says. Gold, snatching gold from Emerald, winning on the last ball, 4 runs off 2 balls required. While Zapi Bimenyimana was missing a couple of balls, I think he realized there's no point in running. He decided to deposit one of those balls into the KFC, in the logo, into the screen on the KFC side of the ground. So Gold winning the Bat Ball Max tournament, which was the local season opener for the Uganda cricket season, which starts this weekend.
And some good money for
my own Wanderers will be playing against someone I don't even remember in Entebbe. But like Franklin has said, there was good money on offer for the teams. Each of the players in that tournament was picking up $50 on every game day. So if you played 8 games, for the teams that go to the final, played 8 games each of them. Kyle, you can do the math. You know how much guys walked away with. And team goal for winning, they were able to win together as a group a cash prize of $3,000, which they will share as a team. So there was some good money for all the teams, the players who took part in that tournament. An interesting one that was organized by Pat Ball and supported by Uganda Cricket. So we want to leave it there, and we'll come back next week. Next week I might not be here, but Franklin and Kyle will most definitely be here to take you through our another episode of the Weekly Woes. But I've had Kyle, Kule, Edwin talking about the Uganda Cranes and basketball as well. Thank you for coming through as always. Our editor of Kawowo Sports, Franklin Kawero.
Dennis, before you wrap up, first tell the people, are you going to play this season or you're into management completely?
No, I'm going to play this season. I even bought new keeping gloves from Pakistan. So I'm most definitely going to play.
There you go. You're going
when I play on that weekend, I'm going to make sure I get a video so that our producer can fix it in. So that there are no lies. But I've been your weekly host, Dennis Musali, and until next time, we'll see you again next week. But in the meantime, make sure you keep reading Kawowo Sports.